Naoya the Monster Inoue is the most complete boxer in the sport today. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what makes him the most complete boxer by going into detail on the 6 main aspects that stood out to me about his game. But stick to the end to learn about one key mistake, where if he fixed it, would give him a genuine valid argument for the most complete boxer of not just today, but of all time. Let's get into it. The first attribute that allows Inoue to be such a complete boxer is not a fancy one, but a boring one. And it's literally the foundation to his dominance, and that is his stance, particularly the width at which he keeps his legs. You see, Inoue always keeps his legs slightly wider than his shoulders. Maintaining that leg position is crucial to his style because it allows him to move in and out of range quickly. But most importantly, this allows him to be fully balanced at all times. The fact that he is always balanced is extremely important because that means he's always ready to attack and defend. And if you train, you know when you're unbalanced, you're usually in a bad spot to do either one of those. This second skill I'm gonna get into wouldn't be as effective if it wasn't for his stance, and that is his footwork. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and act like he has the best, most fanciest footwork, but he has good fundamental footwork that works well for his style. The number one thing I noticed about Inoue's footwork is his ability to maintain great positioning with it. He is always in a spot where he can attack, defend, and counter. If you watch his fights, you can see that the positioning of him and his opponents are either on a 50-50 line where both fighters have an equal advantage, or where Inoue gets to an advantageous angle, but it is extremely rare to see his opponents get the advantageous angle on him repeatedly. Another attribute of his footwork is his ability to maintain the distance where he wants to fight at. If he wants to stay at long range where only jabs and crosses can land, he has been able to comfortably do that, using step backs and also with the help of his amazing jab. Now, if he wants to stay at his favorite distance, which is mid-range, and that's simply where all available punches can land, the film shows his feet are fast enough to be able to maintain the distance there as well. Inoue's footwork is good enough to allow him to keep the fight where he wants it. The last attribute of his footwork ties into the next great skill of his, which is his ability to cut off the ring. You see, instead of following his opponents around the ring like lesser skilled boxers would do, Inoue steps laterally to meet them at the point in the ring where they will eventually be at. This allows him to cut off the escape route at the point they meet and start landing punches. But stepping laterally isn't the only attribute that allows him to be a master at cutting off the ring. The other very important aspect when it comes to his ability to cut off the ring is the fact that he also throws punches that will meet his opponents where they're trying to go, which also helps to cut off the escape route and keep them in front of him where he wants them. His ability to cut off the ring is essential when he fights boxers who like to stay on the back foot and move, but it also allows him to begin the next skill I'm gonna get into, which is his pressure. Inoue's pressure is overwhelming. He is not the type of boxer who likes to stay on the back foot and just move and counter. He likes to step to his opponents and fight. Don't get me wrong, he is an extremely technical boxer who could boringly box his opponents all night long and win if he wanted to, but that's just not who he is. He's not cut from that cloth. He likes to sit in front of you and really beat the shit out you. That's why his fights be so entertaining, because he ain't running away, he bringing that smoke. His pressure starts with him cutting off the ring. Now, once he has his opponent in front of him, if they're fighting in a close stance, he's gonna start opening him up with that jab. In the open stance, which means when he's fighting a lefty, he still likes to open him up with that jab, but the process is just slightly different. You see, in the open stance, each fighter's lead hand is blocking the other fighter's jab lane. So a smart tactic that high IQ fighters use in the open stance is they play a probing game with their lead hands to occupy space and control punch traffic, and also to bait out their opponent to stick out their lead hand. And they usually will participate, because if they don't, then the person that is probing will just dominate the space and it'll be easier for them to start their offense. And then once their opponent sticks out their lead hand, that creates a lane where the straight cross can land. So that probing, fencing, lead hand game to make room for that straight cross is how Inoue opens up his opponents in an open stance fight. But back to his jab, Inoue has an amazing, sharp, versatile jab. He makes great use of the power jab, which is simply when you step with your jab and have all your weight behind it. He is also extraordinary at landing the stab jab to the body, which is actually what was able to set up the knockout against Stefan Fulton. If you watch the fight, you can see he was landing stab jabs all night long, and once Fulton started dropping his lead hand to block or counter that stab jab is when he came over the top with the right, which is the shot that rocked him and allowed Inoue to hit him with the final touches to put him out. So once Inoue Inoue starts landing the jab, he then starts using jab feints to open up his lead hook, cross, and other combination punches, which is actually the next thing that makes his pressure so lethal. You see, Inoue is an amazing combination puncher. What makes his combination so effective is his use of high-low combos. Inoue's favorite way to start off combos is off that jab. Then once he throw that jab, he likes to throw another punch to the head and then rip a third one to the body. Obviously, he mixes it up, but that's his bread and butter combo principle. And speaking of body punches, Inoue is a ferocious body puncher. They should really call him the monster body snatcher. The main reason his body work is so effective is because of those high-low combinations I just mentioned. He uses the headshots to open up the body shots, because when you get hit to the head, you're gonna naturally bring them hands up, which then leaves what open? That body. In the open stance, he loves that straight cross to the body, but in the closed stance against another righty, he loves that lead hook to the body. So because of his ability to cut off the ring, use his jab to open up power punches and combinations, and that vicious body attack is the reason why his pressure is so brutal. But all that wouldn't be nowhere near as effective as it is without this extremely key attribute that brings it all together, and that is his devastating knockout power. You see, Inoue's power is truly elite. Out of 28 fights that he has put out 25 of his opponents. But what makes it so special is that Inoue's a little dude. At the weight classes he fight at, them guys don't usually be hitting that hard. So that power, along with his skill set, is what truly makes him an anomaly. That power makes this next skill I'm gonna get into even that much more effective as well. But it's not just any skill set, it's a skill set that is essential for every great dominant boxer to possess, and that is counterpunching. Due to his ability to maintain great positioning, Inoue is usually in a position to counter his opponents, and he most definitely takes advantage of that. What makes his counter so great is his timing. He is great at anticipating when punches are coming and countering them accordingly. He also has great reflexes and athleticism, which helps in getting out the way in time and throwing his counter punches fast enough for them to land. But what takes his counter punching to that next level is what I just mentioned earlier, which is his power. That power just makes those counter punches that much more lethal and consequential. That power is really the cherry on top to everything. It's that Christmas roll that wraps the whole package up. So his balance, footwork, ability to cut off the ring, power, pressure, and counterpunching are the 6 main points that allow Inoue to be as great and complete as he is. Let me know if you agree in the comments, and if you think I'm just talking on my ass, let me know why as well. Inoue is an extremely skilled, pound for pound, great, complete boxer. But there's no human boxer that makes 0 mistakes inside the ring, and Inoue is no exception. The main mistake I noticed Inoue makes is he has a tendency of keeping his head on the center line during and after his punches. This is a big no-no in boxing because it makes it more likely to get countered if you habitually keep your head in the same head slot, especially the center line. A great example of this mistake being taken advantage of is his first fight against Nonito Donaire. Donaire was able to effectively counter and exchange with Inoue all night long because Inoue would tend to keep his head on the center line. Even though Inoue still won that fight, it was his toughest, most competitive fight to date, and that mistake is the main reason why. So that is the main mistake Inoue makes the most. But we're all humans, we're not robots. So there is no fighter in history that makes 0 mistakes. The best fighters simply limit their mistakes the most. That's literally what separates each tier fighter. The higher you go, the less mistakes they make. And Inoue is definitely one of the best at limiting his mistakes. Everyone wants to see that Inoue versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight because they're both regarded as 2 of the most complete and skilled boxers in the sport today. Let me know who you think would win that fantasy matchup in the comments. If you want to learn more about what makes Gervonta Tank Davis a highly skilled and complete boxer like Inoue, click on this video right here.